I'm not sure why, but I've got a feeling this little snippet I'm about to film on my camera will be very important. The video you're about to watch is my review of Justice League, and before we begin, I just want to show you a few things. Let's see, shall we? Look who's up here. Oh look, it's the Justice League. Oh look, an entire wall of Batman. Alright, that's cool, isn't it? Yeah, in fact, hey, you've got a Batman light there. Big old Neo Batman light, some DC bombshells, yeah, got a boatload of graphic novels here, Batman, Swamp Thing, Superman, a load of Jokers, a lot of Batman villains and characters. Just felt the need to point those out to you. Okay, now that's out of the way, on with the review. I think it's important to note that I'm not at home right now. Hence that little intro sequence. I'm away doing theatre, so you won't be seeing the tap tape for the next few movie reviews, nor will I have access to all of my usual things that I can refer to when talking about those movies that I do so love to review. Maybe love is a strong word. I want to make it clear that no one in their right mind goes to the cinema to see a movie because they want to hate it. Except maybe if you're like going to see The Room or something at a special screening. But we all love The Room. It's terrible. And it's great. Which can be a thing. I also want to point out that I wasn't being facetious in that intro. I didn't buy all of those books and action figures over the years just to try and prove a point in a Justice League movie review video. I do genuinely love those characters, I love the worlds they come from, and I want the best from those movies. So far, I've been dissatisfied aside from Wonder Woman, which I thought was a pretty good film. Which brings us to today's review. Justice League is a 2017 PlayStation 1 video cutscene. It runs about 2 hours in length overall and stars a CGI remake of Henry Cavill's upper lip, a gratuitous reference to the Green Lantern that doesn't go anywhere, and 2 mid-credit sequences that try to both charm you and set up future movies that I don't think it's earned the right to promise. I went into Justice League dreading it. I didn't want to hate it. I wanted to have a good time. I'm going to make that very clear. But I was dreading it. Man of Steel really didn't resonate with me, and I thought, in terms of the filmmaking, it missed the point of its intended core message. It wanted to be a story about being true to yourself and you know, finding your place, but it wasted so much time in talking about hiding yourself away and waiting until the very last minute to do the right thing. Plus, it was like Zack Snyder turned it into a Christ metaphor. Superman isn't Christ. He's a saviour, yes, but if you're going to pick any biblical metaphor, he's Moses. Think about his creators. Think about the whole child being sent away from a society. And Batman v Superman Dawn of Jaundice, as we like to call it on the Big Dumbcast, is a clusterfluff of a movie. I hate that film. It made me very angry. And not immediately. Immediately I was like, I don't like this. It was in the days after that I realised how angry it made me. It was the story of Murder Man and Captain Hypocrite. 2 characters who looked kind of like characters I love, but didn't really act like them. And ultimately, it was the dark universe of the Mummy of the DC extended universe. It was a film to be like, more? Can we do more? Both from that, we got Wonder Woman. Pretty great. Patty Jenkins delivered a fantastic movie, brought out a performance from Gal Gadot that Zack Snyder definitely didn't do in Batman v Superman. Wonder Woman is great. I adore Wonder Woman. It's sort of like, if that's like my circle of favourite superhero movies ever, Wonder Woman is just sort of like the second tier. It's in like that group. Do you know what I mean? It's with like things like Thor Ragnarok, stuff like that, where like I had a lot of fun. I really enjoyed them. Like up here, you got like Batman '89, Captain America: The Winter Soldier, First Guardians of the Galaxy, Superman movie. Wonder Woman's like in this group. It's amazing. It's a step in the right direction, and I can't wait to see where they take that with the sequel. Suicide Squad was a misfire, absolutely dreadful, and above all, boring. It was a boring movie, which is the worst crime a movie could commit. At least Batman v Superman prompted discussion and thought from me. Justice League sort of falls directly between boring and bad. it's a very unsure movie. It's a course correction for these DC films, which means that if they're using it as a blueprint for going forward, I'm a little more excited about what might come out from the studio if they stick with this universe model. But you have to know what came before it for the story to work, which means that it doesn't stand on its own. And also, you know that it's a front. You know that it feels false. It feels wrong. Suddenly Batman is quipping, you know? Suddenly Superman is acting a lot more... Spoiler alert, Superman's in it. You know he is. Henry Cavill's in the cast. Superman is acting a lot more like Superman, like the comic book Superman, than the Man of Steel, Batman v Superman, Superman. But you know that's not what these characters are like, because we've seen them. Some of them twice before, some of them once before. This is not what they are like. This course correction feels forced and kind of gross. They should have either stuck to their guns or wiped the slate clean completely, or focused on different characters for this movie. Different characters altogether. There are going to be some vague spoilers in the next few minutes, because I think if you're watching this, you've already seen it and you just want to see my verdict, or you just want to see someone rip into it so you don't really care about the content too much. I'm not here to rip into it, I'm here to say I'm just... it feels like I had coursework to do going to see this movie, and I've done it now. And I've handed it in, and I'm slightly relieved that it's over. Pros. Because there are good things in here. Pros. There are a few action set pieces, mostly the smaller ones, that are a lot of fun to watch. Batman's first scene in the flick, taking on a criminal on a rooftop in an attempt to lure out a parademon. It's close quarters, really cool, a bit Arkham-esque. Very nice. Even if he leaves the criminal behind afterwards, uncaptured. Wonder Woman's first scene in a London museum is fantastic. And it feels nice. It feels like a right sort of scene to have with Diana to show us what she has been getting up to since the events of Wonder Woman. Very cool. And very over the top. There's a couple of things she does in it where you're like, that's ridiculous. But by this point, the movie sets a tone where you're like, okay, fair enough. I buy the ridiculousness right now, because you've not met any of the characters who were so surly and depressing before yet. Ezra Miller is fun as the Flash, if a little obnoxious. Ray Fisher does a great job trying to bring something to Cyborg. Cyborg is a MacGuffin of a kind. And that doesn't sit too wrong with me, because it's an interesting way to bring him into this story. But Cyborg in himself is not a particularly rewarding character, because any of the deep emotional stuff you could do with him would require you to have him be a deep emotional cyborg rather than an emotionless one. And that's the story they pick for him here. It's the one where he's fighting against his robotic side, but like he's mostly just robot side throughout the whole movie. Ray Fisher, however, does bring a little spark to Cyborg, but ultimately the movie wastes him. He does get to say booyah at one point. And I was like, oh, you remember the Teen Titans show from the mid-2000s? Great, cool. Can we have it back now? Or at least UK DVD release in full. But yeah, so there's that. Jason Momoa is in the movie. Aquaman's inclusion is ultimately pointless. He doesn't bring anything to the story. He doesn't really bring anything significant or special to the action set pieces. There is one set piece underwater, which I'm sure Aquaman fans will be really happy to sort of see certain things about it. But then it's like, oh, is that it? Oh, okay. Fans of the Wonder Woman movie will be happy to see Gal Gadot being charming and brilliant as always. However, you don't really get to delve into her character as much as that movie allows, because of course this is a team film, so she's not going to be in it. She's not going to be the central focus. But all the same, there is some character development for her that feels like the movie isn't offering challenges to her to deal with. The movie's going, do you remember Wonder Woman? Do you remember that film? Bet you're glad you paid attention. It's like, cool, that's distracting. Jeremy Irons is fine as Alfred. I love the line, one misses when one's biggest problems were exploding penguins, because I'm like, this Batman never dealt with that. this Batman never had fun adventures. Affleck is on cruise control. He is either flat, bored, or making these really odd facial expressions, which suggests to me that as an actor he didn't think, right, this is all you can see of me in this mask. I need to be very aware of everything I'm doing when I'm wearing this mask. Batman should never be like... Seriously, some of the expressions he pulls in this film are weird and distracting. Steppenwolf, crap villain. I'm not a huge reader of all the Apocalypse stuff with Darkseid and Steppenwolf and Granny Goodness and the Mother Boxes and whatnot in the comics, but I know enough to know that this was the blandest interpretation you could have brought to the screen of a character like this. It didn't help that Kieran Hines' voice was wonderful and he was really going for it with some of the very bland lines he was given, but he was really going for it. However, Steppenwolf's face is very human. Like, it's a very human face. But I doubt they did any performance catch with Kieran Hines. If they did, I'd be very surprised. Because he enunciates and pronounces things a certain way, projects a certain way, and Steppenwolf just very neutrally says all the things that he's saying. You know what I mean? He could be saying, like, get them! And the face is going, get them. He should have been more exaggerate. Like the Parademons, who looked quite cool. He should look more like them, like exaggerated features, maybe like a bigger mouth, like a massive hulking brow, red eyes, something like that. But he's just dull. And the Parademons, though creepy and very, very well adapted to live action, just serve as another generic CGI grey minion army. Cavill's great. He's got a few scenes in it. Everyone keeps saying that his introductory scene in the movie, his first scene, is coolest. But I don't agree, because his introductory scene is him doing what I think we all assume was going to happen at some point. Evil Superman. Like, he's not all there, so he's fighting everyone. And it's cool, but it ain't like Superman. And during that scene, the John Williams theme was used briefly in the score. That scene. Danny Elfman's Batman theme appears a lot during this film as well, and yes, he composed this movie, so he obviously has the right to use this theme wherever he wishes, I suppose, but it just made me wish I was watching Batman the Animated Series or the 1989 film. It didn't fit this world. There are so many terrific actors who are underutilised in this movie. Diane Lane isn't given barely anything to do, to the point where... Here's the problem. You see them. You see J.K. Simmons. You see Amber Heard, who's doing a weird thing with her voice. Amy Adams gets a bit more time to shine, but you see these characters, you see these actors, and you go, even though there are some things here which are interesting, especially Diane Lane gets one scene, you're like, yes, needed to see that. It should have been left out and saved for characters' future movies. Because it just stops the movie every now and again to go, here's an actor you like, and they're gone now. And you're like, what? The action is sloppy and messy. You can barely see what's going on. I tweeted back in March, I think, when like the first big trailer post last year's Comic-Con thing came out, that this movie just looked like a big blood CGI mess. I was hit with an onslaught of fans who thought they owed something to a movie they hadn't even seen, having a go at me, telling me, don't watch it, sod off, you're not a proper fan, I bet he's never read a comic book in his life, oh, Marvel shill, blah, 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 blah. But seeing the film, I stand by my opinion. It was a big CGI mess. It's definitely a Zack Snyder film. Joss Whedon takes the reins a little, and it's almost intrusive, because occasionally you can tell that the reshoots added more of the humour, so there is a Whedon-esque quip. At least 70% of them land. 30% really don't work. And they just feel out of place in this world Snyder's built. The colour contrast and saturation is cranked here and there to make the colours pop, but everything's still grim and gritty. It feels wrong. It feels like a false start, and it also doesn't feel like this should be the first cinematic outing for the Justice League on screen, live action, big as you like. I'd say I'm disappointed, but it was everything I expected. I enjoyed certain bits. I did not hate this movie, but I have no desire to watch it again. And the uncanny valley of this part of Henry Cavill's face in so many obvious reshot scenes is dreadful. I would rather they have just let him have a full beard. Because at least then you could just add to the beard and moustache that were there, instead of creating this weird Henry Cavill cosplay around the mouth. Maybe Ben Affleck could have lent him his weird twitchy mouth and it probably would have looked more normal. I don't know. Justice League is a generous 2 stars. It's not really worth your time, but it may please you if you were looking for something more lighthearted with these characters and you can stomach it still being set in this universe. Bring on Wonder Woman 2. Bring on Shazam. Couldn't care less about anything else that's in store right now. If you want to hear my full thoughts, I'll go really into spoiler territory and rabbit on about it. Catch next Friday's episode of Big Damn Cast over on the Big Damn channel. Till then, what did you expect? Oh, he's a Marvel shill! Oh, he's a Marvel shill! Get lost.